Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to Sisters Inc. This session is entitled Becoming My Sister's Keeper, and I am Tiffanie Boyd. I am the Chief People Officer for McDonald's USA, and a really important part of my job is to help people succeed every day in the workplace. And I take a lot of pride in that and really find a lot of joy in doing that, especially for women and particularly for women of color. And I think you are going to be really excited by the session that we have planned because I have two boss ladies with us today. We have Marty McDonald, who is the CEO of Boss Women Media, and we have Sharifa Murdock, who is the Chief Impact Officer at Kith. And they are going to tell us some great stories today about their success and some of the challenges of being an entrepreneur so that we can all learn a little bit from their experience and tap into the great expertise that they have and some of the wonderful stories that they have to share. So welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, it's so great to have you. As we get started, I would love for you to each just take a minute to introduce yourself to our audience and share a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks.
Marty, I was going to say, Marty, do you want to start?
No, go ahead, Sharifa.
Sharifa, go ahead. You start. Well, we can see that they're both very gracious already. So Sharifa, why don't you get us started?
So hi again. My name is Sharifa Murdock. I am the Chief Impact Officer for Kith. Kith is a men's and women's and children's clothing sneaker phenomenon in New York, born and bred in New York. If you haven't heard, you should definitely visit the website, visit our stores. We are global. I came on board about a year ago. I have always been in the Kith family. I've worked on the side with the business partners over here at Kith. They asked me to join about a year or so ago, and it's been incredible. It's been a phenomenal experience just to be able to give back to the communities that I basically was raised in and able to do all the philanthropic efforts for the company and talk to different people and be introduced to new things for this company. So that's who I am. I'm Sharifa.
Great. Thank you, Sharifa. Marty, how about you?
Yes, I'm Marty McDonald. I am the CEO and founder of Boss Women Media. Boss Women Media is an offline, online women's empowerment community and media company. We create experiences for women to connect through the lens of brands, specifically brands who are looking for African-American, millennial, and the next generation women to target. I quit my corporate gig in 2017, 2018 to go after my side hustle full time. So Boss Women Media has been in existence since 2018, and we're just really on mission to change the way women connect.
Thanks.
That's a great, very inspiring story. So I can't wait to dig in and learn a bit more. Our first question is for both of you. You know, for Black women, a big ingredient of our success is Black girl magic, or what I like to call Black girl excellence, because, it comes through a lot of hard work, right? And so, I would love to hear you talk about what Black girl excellence means to you. And Sharifa, let's start with you again.
Okay. Black girl excellence. I mean, to me, it's always showing up as your authentic self. I think it's so important for young Black women to really feel like they can be themselves in the workplace. I think it's important for you to be noticed as yourself in the workplace. And you hear so many times of like this code switching that people feel like they need to have at the workplace. And I think that Black girl magic is what we bring to the space. And I think that if you really paid attention to companies, they want that. They want the magic that we bring. They want the essence. They want just us. I think we bring a presence, and I don't think we realize it until it's too late that we do bring a presence to these workplaces. So for me, it's just about being your authentic self and really coming in as who you are and not changing for no one.
That's great. I love that. I think a lot of people can learn from that. It can be difficult to do though, and I'm sure we'll double click on that.
I was going to say, I want to also add that it could be really scary, just because when you walk into some of these corporate spaces, you go in with this ideation of like, this is how I'm supposed to be, or this is how they expect me to be. But I do believe if you show up as yourself, people will respect you. And that is all that you can ask for. And then also, if they don't like who you are, maybe that's just not the space for you.
That's great. Yeah. That's great advice. Marty, what about you? What does Black Girl Excellence mean to you?
I love what you shared, Sharifa, on just showing up as yourself. You know, I've created a whole summit around Black Girl Magic. This past year, we had a summit with over 58,000 women attend for Black Girl Magic because it's real. And I like to call Black Girl Magic, or as you stated, Black Girl Excellence, is a rallying call. It's a rallying call for women to show up for one another. It's a rallying call to showcase the behavior that Black women shows to the world on an everyday basis. And so for me, it's rallying around and saying, literally, I am my sister's keeper. I am going to lean in. I am going to lift as I rise. That's what Black Girl Excellence is. It's saying that there's not just room at the table for one, but there's room for all of us. Sis, let me pull up a chair for you so that we all can eat. That is Black Girl Excellence. And it showcases as a culture that truly is transformative every single day. And I show my Black Girl Excellence in everything I do, whether people are around or people are not around. I'm going to show the world my Black Girl Excellence wherever I am.
That's great. It sounds like both of you, obviously have a lot of confidence, and you step into your authenticity and who you are. For some of our listeners who may be wondering, oh gosh, how do I do that? How do I do it when I may not have a role model around me or someone who is pulling up that seat at the table for me? How do you lean into your authenticity and sort of own that in your spaces?
I think that, like Tiffanie, I think honestly, it's a really great question. I think as you get older, for the younger generation, you have your friends, and something that I respect about this generation, I feel like these girls are coming in confident. These young girls are not playing. Like, I feel like these young girls know who they are. And even if they don't, they have their friends around them to kind of represent and pump them up. So yes, I do believe that before it was that question of like, I doubt myself, but I do believe that this next generation that they have nothing to play with. Like they know who they are. And the confidence that I'm giving as an older woman is the confidence that they have as a young lady.
Yeah, that's great.
I think about myself when I was in corporate America and what that looked like, of how I was so afraid to show up. If I had box braids because we went to Cancun or Cabo, and then I would take them out before I went into my corporate office, to not showcase, or I didn't want the questions or the explanations. But for me, I had to find a tribe. And so similar to what Sharifa said, you can find a tribe, even if the tribe doesn't look exactly like you, that allows you to shine through to who you are. So if you are that woman who is sitting in corporate America and you're really maybe struggling with who your identity is, you got to ask yourself a couple of questions. You have to ask yourself, who am I? Whose am I? What am I doing it for? And who are people around me that have similar missions and visions that I can align with, that we can tap into each other and grow from? I think that that's critical when you're really trying to identify who yourself is in a space that sometimes wasn't made for us, or in a space that sometimes doesn't look like us. In your identity, you can't allow it to get lost in there. But there always is a commonality of human, and humanizing wherever you are will allow you to feel comfortable in being who you truly are.
Yeah, I love that commonality of human, because you strip away all the things that we often use to label, ourselves or each other. But at the core, no matter what, we are all human in the same in some way, which can be a really powerful connector. Marty, I'm curious, as an entrepreneur, I'm sure it's not always easy and fun and exciting as it might look. I'm listening to you talk about a conference with 58,000 women, but I'm sure it wasn't just, a post of an ad or a snap of a finger to get to that point. Can you tell us a little bit about, some of the challenges that you faced as an entrepreneur and how you've overcome those?
I was just speaking at another conference, and I was just telling some students that entrepreneurship is the biggest thug that I've ever faced in my life, but it's also the most rewarding. And so that sounds like an oxymoron to say that you're faced with a thug, but you're also rewarded by it. But I mean, it's a decision that you decide every day to bet on you. You're betting on the no's, you're betting on the yeses, you're betting on the highs, you're betting on the lows. And so I've learned so much through my entrepreneurial journey, but connection is probably the biggest takeaway from it, right? Not allowing the opportunities to not connect with people and thinking that you're going to do it solo, even if you are a solopreneur, is not realistic. Instead, you truly have to, as an entrepreneur, allow a circle of everyone to be a part of the success of your business. And so for me, that has been probably one of the biggest takeaways. Sometimes you think I'm in this alone, I'm by myself. And it can feel very isolating that way. But as an entrepreneur, you're going to need so many pieces, so many parts to make this pie that you're trying to create, to get the perfect recipe to it, in order for you to be successful in it. And connectivity is the way that not just, women change, it's how our community change. It really is the blueprint. And it's the blueprint that I have to lean into every day on how my company is successful.
Yeah. I want to just double click on that a little bit, because you talked about the importance of leaning on others. And, I'm guessing you've had experiences where you were told no, maybe you reached out for that support of someone and you didn't get what you were looking for. Can you share a little bit about that and how you handled it?
Yeah. I mean, my business itself is we create partnership opportunities. So really it's solely based off of partners, right? It's brands who really see the value in the community that I have. And so when you're first starting out, you don't have a community, right? You don't have hundreds of thousands of anything. And so it takes time to build. So of course you're going to hear no when you don't have anything, based off specifically my model. And so for me, in hearing the no, I have to ask myself, did I make the same investment that I'm asking someone else to make? And so at the beginning stages of my business, it was really me investing in the organization, me doing what I wanted others to do on behalf of the organization, of me showcasing in return, the value of what I was creating. And I really had to change my mindset around no, because as an entrepreneur, you're going to hear no every single day. It is, it's a part of the process. It's a part of the marathon of being an entrepreneur. But with every no, I know that a yes is on its way, and I have to change my mindset and prepare myself for my yes that's coming. And instead, I really had to, at the beginning stages, I would hear no so much, I would turn it into next opportunity. My no is the next opportunity. My no is the next opportunity, because that yes is on its way. And I believed in what I was doing and what I was creating and what I was building. And if you're doing that, if you're building something and you don't believe in it yourself, then why do you expect someone else? And so I had to just change my mindset and shift a little bit from the no's as the next opportunity and believing in my yes.
Yeah, I love that, because regardless of what field you're in, you have to be able to overcome no, and I often say no is just a starting point for negotiation. It's just, it's motivation to get my story together, come back with another ask, think about some additional support and justification. And so I like your, tagline of no is the next opportunity. That's great. The next question I want to ask is to both of you, and it's really about mentors and mentorship. Certainly having a mentor is important, whether you're an entrepreneur just starting out, whether you're trying to climb the corporate ladder. I certainly have personally benefited from a lot of mentors over the course of my career. Sharifa, I want to start with you. Can you talk a little bit about the role that mentors have played in your experience?
The role that a mentor has played in my experience, honestly, has built my entire career. my business partner today was my mentor. He's the one that basically guided me throughout how I should be within this fashion space, what I should do, the questions I should be asking. Mentorship for me I'm a big advocate for mentorship. I think everyone should have a mentor. I think everyone can learn from their mentors. I know that I have gained a lot of access and a lot of things just from my mentor, right? And just being able to experience different things. I always say I'm a young girl from Brooklyn. I could have ended up a totally different way. And I think just having a mentor to guide you in the direction that they feel that you might best benefit from is a big, big way to start anywhere in the industry. And I always tell people you should get a mentor as soon as possible. And not to say you have to be a certain age. I think they can get mentors from when you're in high school. I think it's such a big deal because that guides your life in such a big way. It can change your whole trajectory of where you're supposed to be in life.
Yeah. So how do you do that though? And Marty, I am going to come back to you on your mentorship experience, but
how do you find a mentor?
Yeah, how do you find a mentor? Like it seems like a big lofty thing, or it can be, for someone starting out.
I honestly don't think you need to take it that serious. I think that you walk across your lines and you find mentors throughout your life, right? And people that can guide you. I would say look to the people that you look up to. Look to the people that you feel like you can trust. Look to the people that you see are doing great things in your community or at the workplace that you're like, you know what? I want to be like that person. Look to those people, and those people become your mentor organically because you start asking the right questions. You start speaking to them more. You may ask them for a lunch. You may ask them just to go out and have a coffee. Those are the people that you look to for mentorship. I know it's really difficult. Some people can be shy. I would always say to just you have to take that shell off and you have to really and truly just ask. And 9 times, I'm going to say, I'm at this point saying 10 times out of 10, someone will answer you and respond. No one today, I mean, I would hope not. No one today will not say, yes, I want to take you on as a mentor or a mentee, or they say that they don't want to do something for you. Yeah. I just feel like, and I live in this world in my mind, I think, where I feel like we're just in a really great space and we want to help each other. We want to help each other. Recently, I feel like everybody that I've been calling, they're like, let's support. I started this entire festival off of my mentorship. I started this festival called Envision off of me wanting to guide young women and help them. And it became a big deal. And my actual mentor / business partner helped me start that business. So I am a what would you call it? I am a big proponent for mentorship. Yeah. I try to mentor as many young women and many young men as possible. That's
great. Love it. Marty, do you have anything you want to add on mentoring?
In terms of mentorship, I remember when I got my first mentor at a really pivotal part of my career. And it was because a boss had recommended someone to me. I think that if you're looking for a mentor, it's the types of conversations that you're having with people around you. And it was interesting because the boss who had given me this mentor, she didn't see herself as my mentor because she wasn't a Black woman, and she wanted to position me with another Black woman. And it was because of the challenges that I was telling her that I was facing. Someone is always listening. And so you just have to make sure that you're presenting yourself in a right manner in front of whomever that is. My mentor at that time was the woman that I needed to see if that's how I wanted to maneuver corporate America through. And it was really through her lens, right? She was a successful CMO, and that was the pathway that I was on. And I was really trying to decide if that was the pathway that I needed to be on. And, our relationship stayed full throttle. I also want to point out this. It was a relationship. Mentorship is a relationship. Mentorship is not a one-way street. It's a two-way street. It's what you can do for them and they do for you, which is what a relationship is. And so as long as you're in commune with one another and you are building with one another and you are collaborating with one another, you get closer to your mentor, right? You're keeping her updated on your life or him on your life. They're doing the same in return. When I first started Boss Women Media, my mentor was the first person who spoke at my 25-person event in 2016. around what balance looks like. And so she went along this entrepreneurial journey with me. Full circle, that same mentor was the first person to write me my large 5-figure sponsorship check for an event I had in 2018. It was because we had a relationship together that she could write me a $25,000 check from the company that she was working for at the time, which really catapulted what Boss Women Media was doing with our first national partnership. So I want to say that to say, I'm a proponent of mentorship. I don't think that is the only thing that you need in your toolkit. Also, you need mentorship, you need financial advocacy, you need entrepreneurial advocacy. You need funding. There's so many things that you need outside of just a mentor. Don't hold on to mentorship as its own thing, and that's the only thing that you need for success. There's so many other components and tools that you'll need. But I also believe that mentorship comes with a two-way street and not a one-way street. So if you think that your mentor is going to spend a ton of time with you, pour into you, and it's all about you, then you have what a mentor is in your mind completely wrong. Instead, it is a two-way street, and it is really around building a relationship that can sustain for the season that you're in, because sometimes mentors are just for a season. And then you move on to someone else that can be a mentor. And then with mentorship, it's someone above you, someone where you are currently, and someone behind you that really allow you to really shine through what a mentor can bring to the table.
Yeah, there are a lot of great, really great nuggets in what you just described. The investment that's required to make it successful, as well as sort of this 360 view, of mentorship. They can be more seasoned, they can be less seasoned, they can be more at a peer-like level. When you're an entrepreneur starting out and you don't have the benefit of a company, with a structure of people that you can actually go to, what is the best way to go about finding a mentor? Sharifa, you talked about just seeing the people that you're interacting with and identifying those that you respect and admire. But do you have other thoughts for women who are starting their own businesses? They may not be in a big organization. How can they go about finding someone to serve in that mentoring capacity?
I think it's also about looking into programs. I mean, even what Marty's doing, right? Think about what I always give advice of this. Whatever it is you choose you want to do in life, you look for the person that's doing it. And you make sure you can figure out who those people are. I think using tools like LinkedIn, using tools like different programs, what Marty is doing, using tools of Women of Color in Retail, these different social gatherings and different social platforms that people are now building on. I think it's important to do the research. And that's a big, big part of it, is doing research on who are you trying to become, different organizations, different places where you can meet these people and maybe bump into them by mistake. You know what I mean? I'm a big advocate of just hey, presenting yourself as who you are and being honest, right? And some people may say no, and some people may say yes. We have at Envision, we have a conference, and I think that's the one place that people kind of connect and look for mentorship, because you have these real prestige people that are at these big companies. And then you also have a junior person that is either now coming out of college or just graduated out of a program, and they want to know what their next step is. And I think it's important for you to just do the research of the people that you want to be and get in front of them right away.
Yeah.
And I would even add to that, add to that, be bold in your ask.
Yes.
This is what you said you wanted for your life. Why are you being timid about what you say you want? Exactly. I remember a time on Instagram, I was following Arian Simone, and I just thought, oh my God, Arian Simone's doing so many amazing things. I would love for her to mentor me. And she had posted she was in Dallas for something. I hit her up in her DM and I'm like, hey girl, I'm in Dallas. I live in Dallas too.
I love it.
Could I take you to coffee? Could I, just being bold in your ask. I think that, we live in a space, in an age where you have accessibility to so many things and so many people. If you want this one thing, it is accessible for you to connect with them. Don't be afraid to go after what you say that you want. And getting a mentor is not a hard task at all when there's so much accessibility to people through social media right now.
I would like to add also, but just be prepared. Like, don't just want to be my mentor and don't know what you're speaking about. You have to come prepared for these conversations, because someone will be like, okay, so what would you like? And if you're like, well, I just started with, I want you to be my mentor, that is not the way to go. So I will add, always be prepared for them.
Yeah, that's great. I'm going to pivot a little bit away from mentoring specifically, and actually maybe give you a chance to do some additional mentoring by starting with, what are some of the common questions that you often get from aspiring entrepreneurs? You're two very accomplished women. I'm sure lots of people are looking to learn from you every day. And so what are some of the questions that people often ask?
It's really interesting. I always get asked, and it's not even a question, it's kind of like, I want to be you. And I think that that's such a big, big conversation. And I'm like, what do you mean? I want to be where you are at. And then they go into, so then I start to ask the question. It's more like, okay, so how do we get there? And I think that that's the one question that a lot of people do ask, like, how did you get where you are? But I don't know if they know how to ask that. So they always just say, I want to be you. And then I go through my whole rundown. It's interesting, Tiffanie. It's like full circle for me, because when I was younger, I worked at McDonald's for like 3 years.
Yay.
And for me to be, and I keep saying, for me to be a young woman coming from Brooklyn, working at McDonald's out of high school, and now being where I am today, it is a story, and it's very telling. And I'm always using that as my platform and as my opening for every person that I speak to, because we do live in this age where people feel like they're supposed to be here and then all of a sudden jump 20 blocks further. Exactly. And it's like, oh, dude, I didn't get here in a day. Like,
right.
Let's be real about the conversation and understand that you have to put the work in. So that is the one question I'm always asked, and I'm always prepared to answer that question.
Yeah. Well, I love that. And I love that you started at McDonald's. We'll have to talk about that on a totally separate panel and side conversation. So I'm glad you got some training there. That's great. Marty, were you going to add?
The biggest thing that I hear from people, but they don't say it directly, is how fearful they are. How fearful they are to really go after what they truly want, and playing it safe. And so they don't know how to take the risk. They're afraid to do the hard work. Those are some of the biggest questions that someone, who invested in you? How did you get the funding for it? The first investment that I received was from myself. It was from me taking 401k out of my bank account to create and show what I was building and what I was creating. The first investor of what you want to create sometimes has to be you. And so if you're truly wanting to bet on yourself, if you believe in what you create and what you do and the solution to the problem that you have, sometimes you're going to have to bet on you for it to get off of the ground. And so, but you have to eliminate fear. Fear cannot be your barrier. I say it all the time. Fear cannot live in my house. Fear cannot go where I'm going. In order for me to create the success impact that I want to make, it cannot be with me. And so every day, the mind shift to fear is affirmation. Affirmation of what and who that I can be and what I can do and what I can accomplish. And so for anyone who's in that space, in that place, whether you're corporate America, entrepreneur, you have some sort of fear that you have to affirm yourself to overcome those fears around.
I love that. And, fear can be very real for some. And, one of the things I appreciate about your story, Marty, is that I believe you said you had a corporate job, you had a side hustle, and then you eventually turned that side hustle into your, what you're focused on full time. And sometimes people think it's all or nothing. Like, I either have to be in corporate or I have to like quit my job today in order to start a business. Maybe talk a little bit about how you made that transition and how you advise others to think about things they can do while they have some security in order to maybe overcome the fear of, can I pay my bills? Can I take care of my children? Things that are real concerns for people who want to take a leap but aren't quite sure how.
You know, I have mad respect for corporate America. Number one, if you're sick, they're going to pay you. If you decide you don't want to work today, as we work from home in this environment and nobody knows, you're still going to get a paycheck. If you're an entrepreneur, it don't work like that. And so, you know, when I think about how I juggled both, right? I mean, like literally I was 9 to 5 and then 5 to 9. And on my side hustle, the reason why I left my corporate gig at the time was because I didn't see myself in it. There are so many organizations now that allow you to do both, that believe in you being a creative entrepreneur and working at their organization, right? And so if that's where you are because your business isn't profitable, look at organizations who support side hustles, who support passion projects. The organization I was at did not. And so it wasn't an option. I had to leave. I had to leave out of the space. But most importantly, I had to go and create something so that I could have the confidence within myself to know that I was capable of doing just that. That was really important as a part of my lesson as an entrepreneur, that I had to overcome that aspect of it in order to move on to the next lesson along the pathway. But for those who are afraid to take that jump, to go, you know, move from side hustle to full-time entrepreneur, I mean, there's some questions obviously you need to ask. What's the profitability? What do I have in my savings account? How can I sustain this business for the next 6 months? All questions that I did not ask, if I can be completely honest. All questions that I had. I'm married. I had a husband. I had a security also within that, if I'm completely honest, on how I took my jump, on how I took my leap. I also said that I took everything out of my 401k to have my first event. And so I invested back into the business before I ever asked anyone to. And it worked out for me that way. But if those are things that you don't have in place, sis, I need you to stay at your job until you get those things in place. You know, because there's so much alarming stats and data that shows how Black women are leaving corporate America in droves, how they are taking their 401k out to start these businesses. And so we just have to be more strategic about it, and be connected with people who also will help us grow what we're doing.
Right. I love that you said, you know, you have mad respect for corporate America. You know, as someone who has spent a career in corporate America, I also know that, you know, there's a lot of ways to, you know, pursue your passion in the marketplace, you know, and I think about the work we do at McDonald's. We have, you know, over 2,000 owner operators who are small and actually not so small, because they operate pretty big businesses across this country. So we have that, as well as people working on the corporate side and in our restaurants. And so sometimes you can find a pathway that will lead you to your destiny, which, you know, isn't always the same as the person, you know, sitting in the office next to you or, you know, at that startup venture. Okay, so ladies, I'm curious, what's the best advice that you've ever received? You clearly have a lot of great advice that you're giving, and that may be informed by some that you've received yourself, but what's the best business advice that you've received?
I would say, I can start. I would just say, listen, I think the best business advice that I've ever received is like, don't do too much in the beginning. I think for many of us, you know, we look, especially today, you look at social media, you look at all these things, and when you start a business, for some odd reason, no one ever shows you the transition. Like Marty said, she took out her 401k, she did all these different things, and no one ever said anything. Focus on your growth. Like really understand, like you don't need to have If you're starting a business, and let's just say you're starting a car business, you don't need to have a fleet of 100 cars. You could start your car business with 20. And I think that people don't understand that. I think that everyone wants the fast track to everything that we're doing. Somebody told me a long time ago, just start small. Marty, you did it right. You started with 25 people, right? And you grew it over time. And I think that that's what we've been doing over at Envision and all the companies that I've ran and become CEOs to. Like, you have to start small and know that your time will come where it will grow. And that's the one thing I will tell people, because everybody wants to start large. You just start small, and I think you'll be more successful.
I love that, Sharifa.
Yeah.
I would add to that, because I love, you have to start small. No matter where you are, no matter who you are, the advice that I received that will forever be with me is, you can be the most talented person in the room, but if you're not consistent and you don't show up every single day, talent does not matter. Consistency will eat talent any day of the week. So the small bite-sized moments that you might have, how you start small, will show up for you. You will grow if you are consistent. And consistency equates to success. You have to show up every single day in order for you to become the success in your corporate career, your entrepreneurial career. Consistency is really what matters.
That's great. So, in the last question, I mentioned McDonald's as a place where we have entrepreneurs, we have corporate, and part of the entrepreneurial model is based on having leaders in local communities who can really make a difference. I'm curious how you feel about the role of community as it relates to building a new business or entrepreneurship. What's our responsibility in that area, and what advice would you give potential business owners?
I will say, Marty, do you want to say something? Sorry about that.
No, go ahead.
I figured I always kick it off and then you come in.
That works.
I would just say community is 100% important. Building your own community and your own tribe is somebody that's going to support you continuously. Just giving back also to the community, no matter what you do and no matter what position you are in, is always going to be a good feel. It's a lifetime and a lifelong lesson that I stand on. That's a pillar of mine that I stand on. Like, you have to give back to community, but you also have to build with your community.
Yeah, that's great. Marty?
The other day, a brand had given me a call and was like, hey, we have a surplus. It's the end of the year. We're looking for a way to share with you and your organization. So if you have any projects for the end of the year, you can cap it, whatever. And I thought, wow, like, I've worked with this brand 2 times, but the fact that they think of me in terms of their surplus, and they trust what I can deliver, what Boss Women Media can deliver to the community, to in return help women. I thought, wow, that's what community looks like. Community looks like someone saying and stating and advocating for my brand's organization in a room when I'm never there. And then in return, what do I do with that? And it's me then going to invest in other women and advocating for them when they're never there. That's what community looks like. It is truly, I'm a Delta, so I believe in lift as you rise. And so it truly is lift as you rise. And so that's what community looks like. It's people showing up for people when they don't even know they're being shown up for. And I think that if the world did that, if our community did that, how much of an impact that will make in return. And I just love the fact that McDonald's is showing up and showcasing how women can be business owners and the impact then that they make in the community from that. And on so many organizations who can do that is really how our community changes for the better.
That's great. Well, ladies, I mean, I think we could talk for 30, 40, 50 more minutes, but our
Yes.
time is coming to a close. I actually took some notes because there were so many good nuggets in what I heard from you. And, as someone you talks to leaders, all across the world, this was just amazing. And, I got a lot out of it. I'm sure our leaders did. Let me just recap for you some of the things that I heard. So no is just our next opportunity. Lean into your authenticity. If someone tells you no, find someone else. Start small, but don't take on too much. Believe in yourself, bet on yourself. You're not going to do it solo, so find your tribe was a great one. Mentorship is a relationship. Be bold in your ask and build with your community. Invest in other women and lift as you rise. And
Yes.
I think there's so much in all of that. And I love your energy and passion for the work that you're doing. I really appreciate you being a part of this Sisters Inc., being our Sisters Keeper panel. And I wish you both the very best in the work that you're doing.
Thank you
Thank you so much, Tiffanie.
Seriously.
Take care. Keep on with that Black girl excellence. Thanks
Yes.
Yes.
a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye.